Morning, everybody. Let's take this microphone. Let's get to work. Hope you can hear this in the background. Oh, yeah. Feel that shit. You got this, Rudy. JR, Ivar, Matt. Can you guys hear this, by the way? Or am I the only one hearing it? Anyways, all right. I think we're goofing around enough here. Enough about me. Let's get back to you guys. Welcome. Patreon rewards for this week. What are we up to on these ones now? I haven't even checked. It's like 38. Jesus Christ. We've almost been together for a year. Isn't that kind of crazy? For this special occasion, 38 is a nice round big number. I've switched over to the 35 millimeter, bringing in a little bit closer, a little more intimate. We had a huge influx of the voices only talk to you. Had a big influx of users now, so I thought, why not make things a little bit closer, a little bit more intimate? Do what we're doing here. For those who are new, welcome to the channel. I'm Ryan. I'm sure you've seen me around on YouTube or running my mouth on Twitter or Reddit or God knows where else. I remember back when Jordan Peterson had one of these Patreons, and one of his reward tiers, which was really helpful, is he would actually just engage the audience and just like, hey guys, ask me questions. I'll bring it up. Use the knowledge that I can use to help you in whatever way. And I thought that's really nice. It's too bad he no longer did that. Plus, he kind of delved a little bit far outside of his clinical psychology practice. So diminishing returns. But anyways, I thought you guys have been supporting me here since the very start. And I think the least I could do is spend some quality time together. It's been a bit of a rough week. As you can see, it's that. Does anybody remember cable when you would watch and actually, I guess I don't really need this. It's not really talking. When you'd watch cable news and there was always that one episode that was just clip shows. This week is the episode that's just clip shows. A couple things we'll get through on what's going on here on this end. Figure you guys can get the inside scoop, and then we'll get to your questions on Patreon and that under amazing, overwhelming stuff. I now have application window. This here. Videos are going to be hopefully a little faster going. This is a program called DaVinci Resolve. Anybody here who's done any video editing probably have heard of it. From what I understand, when it comes to video editing software, this is the stuff. This is like professional quality. I've had a hell of a time doing a lot of certain things with Magic, so I think it's time to move on. Taking this week to finish off the last edits on the book, get the introduction and the epilogue and the forward finished, so I can get that out to you guys ASAP, as well as more videos. I'm archiving all of this previous Patreon stuff to the forums. It's a bit of a slog there, as well as pulling in other material. And then, as always, you still have to do some time and do some research into sexual strategy. It's something I'm making an effort for now, because I noticed once you switched from research and experience mode into brand mode, I guess, in lack of a better term, it's really hard to stay in the trenches and you kind of lose touch. So I'm making the effort to sit there and still talk strategy, not just with you guys, but some of the guys that are at my level, to see what kind of stuff they're coming up with and how they've refined things. So it goes pretty well. Jack Napier took his shirt off for you guys. Well, isn't that fancy? I don't think I'll be doing that for you. It's a little bit on the homoerotic side, but whatever. We'll see what happens. It's a crazy summer. For those who are new, let's just cut to the chase right now. What we do here is we'll have a weekly Q&A thread. Starts up at Friday 5 or 6 p.m. Eastern Standard. I'm going to pull up our last one. And I'll show you what we kind of deal with here. Give me 2 seconds. Share the screen. So in here, I break this up into 2 episodes. The idea was we were definitely getting too long for a full hour. So I've split it up into 2 hours. First one's the clickable image. Second one is the link down below. So that way you aren't having to sit here and spend 2 hours listening through an entire 2-hour Q&A session. And meanwhile, your stuff was the very first thing right in the middle. So you get to skip all the stuff that's not applicable to you and touch the stuff that is. Excuse me. Yeah, and I mean this, by the way. When I say at the beginning, I know it's like a copy-pasted template, but I do want to give some heartfelt appreciation. Not just you guys, but like all the guys. Mostly you guys, though. It's something I've always realized, and that the currency in an abundant world that we have now is based on attention. Advertisers are spending millions of dollars to be able to get scant seconds of people's attention span. And the fact that you guys are giving it to me in an hour, a 2-hour increment here on the Patreon, as well as, an hour and a half on Red Morning, an hour and a half on Rule Zero, 10, 20, 30 minutes a week on YouTube videos, reading through my posts, those of you that read. Like, I am basically taking a lot of your guys' time. And so I do treat that with some reverence. I realize it's not free. It's an expensive commodity. And I try my best to make sure you get your money's worth out of the time you spend on me. So I guess the first question, I'll deal with this one because, I have had nothing but problems with this appointment calendar. I don't know what it is that they do for functionality, but what's supposed to happen is it books the event. The event will send me a notification via email or email and via the application on my phone. For some reason, it's very spotty. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I know there's been a few appointments I've missed over this length of time. And like I said, I apologize for that one. I hate wasting time like that, but I just don't have a solution for it, which really sucks. I know it's asking a little bit extra on your part, but send me a confirmation on Twitter or my email or just however it is we talk already, so that I can make sure I don't miss them. Because it's not so much a scheduling conflict. If it's a scheduling conflict, I'll always notify you beforehand. But it really is just that software is a piece of shit. And I don't know how to fix it. So there's the first question. By the way, completely exhausted. The old lady, her dad's sick, so he has to go into surgery. So she's flown down to the West Coast to be with her parents, which means that I had to do a 4:00 in the morning airport trip. Really throws my whole day off. But I have the rest of the day to myself, and she's not home. So after I clean the house, I'm thinking about that, by the way, for the next video. There's 2 themes I got. The first one is just about relaxing, but I don't really like that one. I don't think relaxing is a good theme for this. Second one is literally going to be something one of my fans from the Purple Pill debate, and I actually have fans there, suggested was that I show people how to clean. So I might start doing some pedestrian stuff like folding laundry. I don't know. A lot of guys may not know how to fold sheets properly. A lot of guys may not know how to wash clean their bathrooms. And we have a military system of like top-down cleaning, which I think works really well. So at the very least, it gives me footage that I can run my mouth about how women ain't shit. So, fuck it, we'll do it. First question on the list, though. Hey, Ryan. I still don't know what our map is and how to find our forums. But anyways, I've noticed sometimes when girls ask you on your opinion or something, they go with the opposite of what you choose or just with what they were going to do with. Like, for example, they'll ask you what color nail they should get just to pick another. Why is this? Is this a thing? Am I reading too much into it? And they don't like the opinion I pick. Thanks. Actually, you know what, Hector? I tell you what, I'll pull it up now and let me take a look. From what I can tell, everybody who should have an invite does have an invite. For now, I'm treating security as important here, so I would suggest you don't use your same Patreon credentials as the credentials for this. They're not meant to be the same. I pull this up while I do it here. I don't know if I should share this screen, but we'll take a look at it anyway. So when I pull up the relationship manager, what'll happen is I get a person's name, a pledge, their lifetime status. Now, for security wise, and I hate to say this, but it's mostly because of the company that you keep when you're in a red pilled space. But there's a lot of people that just love to weaponize this stuff. So I guess a bit of background. There is a guy called, I don't remember what his name is, Bob Lewis. He went by the name Misandry Today on YouTube. He was like a prominent MGTOW guy. I guess he got onto an episode or two of our old podcast with that Central Florida clue we shan't talk about again. And since he went on there, he basically just like gummed up the whole thing, being autistic, he and Anthony, whatever. Point of it is, though, there's a cadre of people surrounding this particular guy who are doxing people left, right, and center, personal details, threatening families, all that stuff. And I want nothing to do with any of that crap. I find going after a person's livelihood is an absolutely reprehensible thing. But at the same time, I can't expect people to have to play by the same rules. So I figure since I've got a degree in technology management and information security, as well as 15 years experience in the military, why don't I apply a threat and risk analysis to the forums here? Obviously, the first part is anonymity is important. The problem with that is it creates a threat point where if you're anonymous, people tend to act more extreme, and people that are malicious actors, either advertent or inadvertent, would try and get in there. So I'm like, all right, what can we do to minimize this danger? It turns out trolls are cheap. Put a couple bucks in front as a paywall, 99.9% of malicious actors are gone. So in that end, I have to wait until, now I know a lot of you guys are new and you're rip roaring ready to go, and that's awesome. So I have to wait until your status switches to paid, which sucks because I want to do it at the beginning of the month for every new group, but Patreon's a little slow. They don't end up processing things until like the 3rd or the 4th. So I wait, and then once that's an issue, I put a note in my thing that I've already sent you a forum invite. Use the email from Patreon so that way I can confirm that you are who you say you are. It sends you a one-time token. On the email, you click it. It offers a forum password. So, and I'll tell you about the reason for that in a sec. Offers you a forum password. You use that to get into the forums, create your account. One token creates one account, period. Have it as, I don't care if you are who your name is in Patreon. I don't care if your name is who you are in real life. As long as your identity is managed, that's fine. This is something called access and identity management. And this is a very crude implementation of it. Anybody here who's in InfoSec will probably laugh it up. But and in the end, it doesn't really matter. Like, you guys are going to know who you are by your names. I also suggest some basic preparations on your side. Don't put personal details up just to be safe. You know, obfuscate things, poison the well. If your job is in corporate, say you're in HR, that kind of stuff. But security is kind of first and foremost for me. So if you don't have one yet, now I'm going to look, who's the one that was just asking? Hector. So I want to pull up your name to see what's up. So I'm finding as I do research, everybody that I've pulled up who, okay, so you, looks like you just got added to the tier now. Check your email. I just finished these off this morning. And if you got a, sometimes there's automated responses that automatically get sent to your spam folder. So do a search in your emails for the phrase locker room. It'll have locker room, then my email address at the ryanstone.com domain with a website toolkit with your one-time token. Take a look in your junk mail and look for the phrase locker room if you don't see it in your inbox. That should have all the details you need right there. And again, I know it's a bit of a pain in the ass, but unfortunately the space is full of autistic spurgs with nothing else to do but cause drama. So The good news is once you get inside, the perimeter is pretty well established, so we should be good to go. And we can say fuck and shit and swear and talk about dicks and whatever. It doesn't even matter. Yeah, super generic. Honestly, it doesn't really even matter. As long as it's a way to identify you, like you are a consistent name. That way people can kind of build a relationship to and an understanding over history. That's all you really need. And I guess I'll go into, let me just put this aside for now. One nice thing. I'll pull up the forums quickly, but not the personal private section. There we go. The one thing that I've been working really hard on getting up to speed, and this is a daunting task, man. This is some Library of Alexandria shit. First thing I've tried to do, all the Patreon questions and answers we have here, they're all kind of muddled about in Patreon. I'm trying to put them all into here along with the questions that were asked and the answers. So that way you can go back, look through the archives. Maybe something's applicable to your situation. I figure we've been putting that stuff out. Once we get this many things together, we're going to have a way of organizing it. So second thing, I call it the book list, but I'm trying to organize, and this is the end goal, everything that has to do with Red Pill into discrete categories and then provide a structured hierarchy to it, almost like you would think of as a university course. I've been dipping back into my old advanced instructor techniques. But the idea is if you walk into here and you have no idea what you're doing, you've heard of Red Pill because you watched a podcast once and you're like, all right, what's next? My wife won't fuck me. I can't get laid when I'm single. What do I do? The idea is it'll break down everything. Like the anger phase, for example, has its own material that's dedicated to people that are in the anger phase, getting out of it. There's stuff that's the main overarching red pill theory. A lot of miscommunications people have is because of weird definitions, dread being the most recent one that people fuck up. So I thought, why not add a whole section that's just about clarifying terms, laying out the roadmap, getting the main theories together. And then on top of it, everything always seems to devolve into guys suntanning their assholes. So I'm going to be adding a section that's the navel gazing that comes with men who get laid on the regular and their friends like them, is they tend to navel gaze about what it means to be a man. So I'm going to start adding stuff in there, but I don't know. It's such a subjective thing that I'm kind of thinking of just getting rid of it. But for the most part, it's going to be other red-pilled authors talking about their red-pilled stuff. So I like it as kind of like a content creator space, but we'll call it masculinity. Last thing, couldn't talk about red pill unless you're talking about game. So last section is going to be strictly about game. How to fuck girls better. And this is going to be just about every resource I can think of with as much detail as I can. I'm not going to pirate books or anything like that. For the most part, I may offer synopsis or like crib notes, but I don't want to remove income from these guys doing it. So if there's free versions available, I'll put them there. Otherwise, it'll be links to the Amazon with some other stuff. And then as I go down, I'm just going to start adding, and this is where I'll start putting them into posts. So if, instead of just looking through this list of books and reading them in order, you'll be able to go through and, for example, when I talk about Confessions of a Reformed Incel, what does that mean? What is that from? For internet posts, Reddit posts, that sort of thing, I'm putting archive versions of it in here because people are deleting their blogs or getting them removed all the time. And I would hate for dead links to happen. So I leave the original post in for people so you can see where it was originally from, as well as bring in a formatted, usually unless there's spelling mistakes, I don't do any editing. Just some desktop layouts. The graphic designer and me. So it can kind of help you understand what we mean when we talk about, Confessions of a Reformed Incel. You can go through this and see M3's talk about how he went through 12 years of celibacy, got through the anger phase, and built himself a healthy life at the other end. It's a wonderful story, and it's really hard to say you're red pill if you don't understand a lot of this history stuff. Then once we get underneath it, if there's any, holy Jesus, a long one. If there's any additional stuff, like if the author created amendments or Oh, for crying out loud. Or I wanted to add some translation notes underneath. They'll go underneath the thing. So it'll all be extremely helpful. I hope you guys are getting some use out of it. Yeah, JR's got a good point here. So like Ultimate Cad, for example, he deleted his account and all of his Reddit links are dead. Luckily, we've had a lot of them archived in internet archiving services. So I had to bring that stuff over. Really not looking forward to the Jack 10 of Hearts one because he's got about 300,000 words worth of comments and posts and introspection. And it's basically going to be editing an entire book and then throwing it up in here. So it's a pain in the ass. But so that's where that stuff is going. And then anything that's noteworthy that'll eventually fit into this stuff, I'm adding them underneath. These aren't structured right now, but I just need to get them in there. Then once they are, I'm going to have pinned like synopsis and structured formats that put them into an order. For now, it's small enough that you can still keep up. But yeah, so that's the plan for that. Yeah, I got to be a bloodhound on this stuff. And to be honest, I got to thank guys like JR because I actually would have lost the Ultimate Cad posts. He managed to find the old archives of them. So I am really finding it worthwhile for this. And it'll be good for you guys too. Honestly, for you guys that have been here for a while, yeah, I know your plan. I want to fuck my wife. I want to get laid in general. My girlfriend's a bitch. What do I do? And once we get the bare bone stuff out of the way, once you learn to be more attractive, less unattractive, switch out your mental models. Like the well is not wide, but it runs deep. Honestly, it's very simple to get a basic understanding, but after that, it's amazing how much you can learn about so many small topics. And like I said, if you eventually you go through this stuff with the same depth I have, you're going to be smarter than me on this stuff. I guarantee it. That's the plan anyway. But hopefully that answers your question. But yeah, so I put up a post where I just said the latest round of invites have gone out. If you've been a member from before the first of the month and you haven't seen yours yet, reach out to me on that thread. I'll peek in on it every now and again, and I'll see about troubleshooting anybody's errors. But for the most part, errors are people have things stuck in the spam folder. They don't recognize the email address as from us, or they haven't become a full paid member yet. So, oh, this next one's going to be all navel gazy. Yeah, and that's the thing. I know TRP Red is doing the same thing. They're trying to archive the entire, but that's the thing. So he's archiving Reddit. And just the TRP site, which is great because there's a lot on there. Right. YouTube thinks this one's spam, so. Yeah, so I don't know how his archives are going. He's having some technical issues on the final pieces there. Never mind, he's lost a lot of viewership and talent on there, so like it's really an uphill battle for him. But that's fine. And it's actually tying into the second question. So Max is noticing the Married Red Pill subreddit posts are getting more into complicated philosophical theories with less problem solving and pattern recognition. It's as if some guys are looking to make things more complicated than they need to be, so they set themselves apart as advanced posters. Then the herd responds with upvotes and great post responses. In short, mental masturbation and circle jerking. Curious about your take on the state of the MRP subreddit and any changes you've noticed over the last 2 or 3 years. This is actually a deceptively complicated question, and I have a few answers for you. The first one is a Reddit specific one. It's Eternal September. The problem with subreddits is the problem not with people, but it's just with the way the system is generated. Upvotes and downvotes are always catered to low information, easy to digest content because the voting algorithm is logarithmic. What that means is in the first 10 minutes, if you get 1 upvote, it's worth as much as 100 upvotes in the first hour. So things that are easier to read, things that relate to your sensibilities, don't require a lot of thought, and aren't particularly contentious tend to rise up, while things that are controversial or necessary but not palatable tend to stagnate. Married Red Pill is about 30,000 people right now, and it's reached that point where in any group, it's called regression to the mean. Like what happens when something first starts out, you've got we'll use biker gangs, for example. It was originally World War II vets who still wanted to ride their bikes after leaving the front. So they bought old military bicycles or motorbikes, and then they raced them around, getting back together with their buddies. Very interested group, very good at riding, above average investment and knowledge about the thing. So it eventually gets popular. And then as it gets popular, other people start joining. And that's the thing about groups, is that the more people join, the more a highly motivated, higher echelon of people will regress to the mean, because more average people and under average people are joining. Problem with that is it degrades quality. It was only at maybe 15,000 members that the upvote stopped becoming a measure of any type of utility. In fact, there's been a few times where we've actually booted guys who start talking about how they had 18 upvotes and that their post is valuable and needed to stay up. Flat out told him, like, dude, I don't give a fuck about your upvotes. Most of the people in there are, as Wine More Please puts it, most of the guys in there are losers who don't know their head from their asshole. So to tell me that they resonate with what you wrote should probably give you pause instead of an attaboy. So you have that as one aspect of it. And there's a lot of times, and luckily there's enough. It's another concept called flavor posters. In any type of online forum or any interest group in general, people that moderate or run the system have limited influence after a certain point. Eventually what happens is something called a flavor poster will take over. A flavor poster is that top 1% of people that tend to drive 80% of the content. And they set the social norms. So as a moderator, your job is basically to wrangle the flavor posters, and then the flavor posters will wrangle everybody else. You show what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. That's why, as this guy was talking now, it was problem solving, pattern recognition, replication, field reports, theory for the most part. All the flavor posters had that. There was like me, Rule Zero Dad, Bogey D6. Awesome. Then you start getting more guys in there, and eventually what's happening is guys are trying to get these out. Now, we're still at a good point as far as like a public forum goes, where there's enough guys around to know what they're doing who will basically call out bullshit for what it is. But eventually, once you get to like 50, 100,000 people, it's going to be impossible to do. And so you essentially lose that, and it kind of tempers everything towards the middle ground. And that's where a lot of quality ends up degrading over time, which is another reason it's really important to grab all the early stuff and kind of collect it here, and why I've kind of created this smaller, tighter knit group. I think you guys are going to be well more focused on fucking and sexual dynamics as opposed to navel gazing about your role as a man or something other. Marty, I see your question there. I'll ask that one in a minute. I'll answer that one in a minute because that's a funny story. Excuse me. So the end result of this is you end up with these groups that are guys who actually have been doing it a while and they have their shit together. The problem comes with getting addicted to the process. And this is where I say that the well for Red Pill doesn't one ride, it runs deep. You saw that with the Red Pill subreddit with guys like Gay Lube Oil and that. Neo Reaction Safe was another user. Is that once they understood sexual dynamics, and there's not a lot to it. You have two choices. You can either like repeat. It's like a slog, but you eventually get a more in-depth understanding and you start building connections between the disparate parts and practicing them on your own. Or you get hooked on the idea of discovering new things every day, and that's when you start delving into philosophy and Ebola and crap like that. Another part of it is flavor posters are very prone to widening the trench. And that's how come Red Pill all of a sudden is about philosophy, or it's about politics, or it's about all kinds of things that have nothing to do with fucking. Add to that, a lot of new guys are very insecure about their position on the fuck pile. And so if you give them an excuse to avoid fucking, they will take you up on it. That's why every stupid trad who couldn't fuck a girl if his life depended on it has avoids sex and diminishes sex to so much of an extent. It's because it's easier just to have sour grapes than to actually work on something that's a failure, even though that takes a hit to your ego, realizing you're not the pinnacle of alpha men and that maybe you're just a dude whose wife doesn't think he's attractive anymore and he needs to get to work. So a lot of what you're seeing there is a convergence of those two disparate groups coming together. Yeah, I don't know. He has a girlfriend now. So his original map was he was dating a girl in college and she ended up taking a girls' night out to Vegas and getting a train run on her. And he was kind of disheartened over that. Did his red pill stuff, kind of came out of it really well. He's dating himself a nice little, I want to say Chilean, cute little girl, whatever. His father-in-law, I don't know what the boyfriend's version of father-in-law is, but keeps telling him to put a baby into her, and he's having that little fight with it right now. But he's just another Southern California wannabe communist. I mean, my great-grandmother was a slave in the South. So him talking about being Russian is like me talking about being a slave. It's just like good for him. But I'm not going to sit here and bitch about him. I don't think it's worth your guys' time. Yeah, so I hope that gives you a good understanding of your question and the answer. There's one last part to it, and this is more of a personal thing. So when you first start out, you don't know anything. Everything that you've learned is revolutionary. Oh my God, Archwinger's post, that's crazy. Oh, Weak and Sensitive talking about, frame. That's awesome. As you get a handle on the fundamentals, where every post used to be fundamentally amazing for you, now it's like maybe 1 in 10 will show you something you haven't seen. Maybe it's 1 in 20. Now it's at the point that I don't see anything that surprises me anymore, which is awesome. But part of that is you can take that to mean, well, this place used to be amazing. I used to learn so much, and now I'm not learning anything. So it's turned into garbage. Partially, it's also the fact that you've just gotten better. But it's like I said, it's a complex question. You put all those things together, and that's essentially the answer I think you're looking for, whether you knew it or not. It's something to be aware of. It's one of those reasons I'm pretty good at moderating when I have the time for it, because you got to understand for the most part. And it's the same as sexual dynamics. A lot of guys are like, I miss the like it was Day Gamers today. I miss the magic with women. Now I'm always thinking about doing this and doing that, and it's just not fun anymore. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know what? When you grow up, you don't think Santa gives you presents at Christmas anymore. It doesn't mean you can't enjoy Christmas. It just means, your parents wrote it with their offhand, so you wouldn't recognize their handwriting. Like, fuck, guys. I'm going to do Marty's question here. We'll get to the next one on it, but I'll see if I can pull up a good example of what I'm talking about. It was actually a Day Game guy. So I block most people that are content creators because I can see why people hate Twitter, because people are shit. And I'm obviously contributing to the problem by very snarky, cynical hot takes on people and their dumb shit. But so blocking a lot of them more so for my sanity, but it's also for yours. At the same time, I'm working my ass off, so I don't really have time to focus on particular grudges too much. Other than Pat Stedman, I always got time to dunk on that fucking idiot. Oh, it's not that guy either. Dude, the amount of people that get Dread Game wrong is fucking with me, man. Like, I cannot believe it. But, all right, I'm going to take another second or two, and if I can't find it, I'll just sum it up. Because I hate dead air on the damn thing. How many posts do I do a day? The rule of thumb is you're supposed to do 50 posts a day to maintain relevancy and growth. So every time when I have nothing to do, like when I'm sitting on the toilet and that, it's usually me giving these stupid hot takes to grab attention. I fucking hate the outrage culture shit, but whatever. We do what we do. And it's good to meet some people that I haven't met before, but Thog deserves more. The names of guys. Dr. Babe, Band of Dude. It's amazing how stupid and silly this stuff all is. The Oregon Trail generation. All right, I can't find it, but fuck it, whatever. Some guy was complaining that he was so focused on. Oh yeah, my Dr. Seuss hot take. He was so focused on the details of learning game, like how to approach, do this, and all the steps in there, that he was like, I don't get a chance to just surrender myself. First off, surrendering yourself is a very feminine thing to say. Don't fucking say that. Secondly, I don't know where guys seem to fight this. At the same time, guys will one time say they need to be masculine leaders of men, but on the other side say, I want to be able to surrender myself fully to a woman. Like, you got to pick one. That's incongruent as shit. And even if you don't pick up on it, the people around you do. And they may not know what's wrong with you, but they know something is incongruent and it gives off that creepy vibe. So you really got to stop that. Hey, Matt got blocked by Bruno the other day. Congratulations. He's a old fuck anyway. I don't mean that in that I don't like old people. I mean that as in I don't like idiots who happen to be old, and he fits the bill. Worst part is I used to think he was great. Like, at least I learned how to enjoy pipes because of him. And then somebody else was like, yeah, he can't even do that right. And he sent me a link and I'm like, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. Breathing method and shit. But yeah, and it's just these guys have this desire to play out a delayed adolescence, which is annoying because I still want to act like a kid when it comes to men and women, live that Disney fantasy, but I want to be taken seriously as a man. Well, I hate to say it, but part of, well, I don't hate to say it. It's just, it needs to be said. Part of growing up, having alpha qualities and beta qualities and essentially leading a relationship involves you losing a lot of that emotional feel goods from relationships, and you treat them more, I don't want to say as a burden, but it's kind of like, it's like having a pet. Like, you love your pet, but at the same time, there's obligations to it. And you don't get that same high that a 6-year-old does when they get a puppy for the first time. Now, I remember, Marty, I promised to get to your question. This one here. What's it like having a woman editor read your book? I bet you it's not awkward at all. I did some hunting, some freelancing. There's actually a site called freelancer.com, which is great because they verify the identity of people. I said how I needed to have a female editor for my book. Managed to find one from New Zealand. I'm like, oh, this is great. And she would do the edits and bring them back. And I thought, oh, that's, wow. I'm like surprised there's not more red ink. She goes, oh, everything's fine there and whatever. I'm like, yeah, make changes. I would rather veto them when they're already in place than have you ask me every time. And so she got through most of them. And then all of a sudden her page changed. I think I got catfished by an Indian dude. Because all of a sudden the page changed, even though the name was still Nicole and it was still a female account and it's still verified by Freelancer. It was now a picture of a middle-aged East Indian guy who, like, and whatever. I'm not saying this from a racist angle. It's just Aaron Clary suggested I get a female editor. So now I got pissed. I raised a big stink about that. Did some cases. The big problem is now I was kind of out. So now I'm getting my girl to read it and doing the last couple edits myself, which slowed everything down by a couple weeks, but whatever, you live and you learn. So I may not, and the account swears it's because she changed it to the photo of her husband, and Freelancer swears that that is the account that's validated by who they are. So I may not have actually had a girl read my book. I don't know. Maybe I should just get one of those thoughts that follows me on the thing there. So, oh, that's awesome, by the way. Yeah, the editor, I'm finding it's a lot harder to find a good one, which is weird because like Penguin Publishing is literally across the street from me. Like, I should really be able to find an editor better. But that's fine. It's for this last part, I basically am reading the book, doing the last edits as I read it, and then I'm going to read it another time and then make edits and get it to the point where I read it a full time and not want to change anything. I want to get that done before the event in April, so we'll see what happens. Back to questions though. Where did I leave off? The Sequel Quandary. Next question. If Do you guys recognize this is our man spinning plates, has a nice little seat girl, and she absolutely wants to lock him down, but is a bit infatuated and kind of young and a little immature. He doesn't want it. So I find myself in a quandary. The seat girl's acting well. She's continued to invest as usual. These days I'm feeling more meh. Yeah, you're just losing interest. And that's it. You kind of like, most guys like the chase. So if a girl is too available too soon, it's a bit of a turnoff. But she's a good kid, still a kid, not sure what she adds besides sex and devotion. There's part of me that feels she's not bringing competence on her own, but that she's not going to be able to add to my life beyond the feminine basics. You know what? Most girls are not going to be able to offer more than the feminine basics. And the things that they would that are outside of that, they're usually subpar at it anyway. Nothing that a really good friend wouldn't be able to solve. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you clearly don't want to get into a solid relationships. Just don't. You've been honest this whole time. You've told her you're dating other girls. Nothing is serious. I have no intention of wifing you up. And she just keeps pushing. So, I mean, you've been honest. We can't expect more than that. So I don't know what I really need. A boss bitch on my side. Yeah. I've got no intention of forcing emotional investment on my part, but this is a new and weird place to be. Am I missing something or just leveling up? Oh, wait, what did I miss on there? Oh, but yeah, that's not a boss bitch. That's like that's a ride or die bitch is what you're talking about. But yeah, you don't need one. That's the thing. If you're not looking to settle down, don't settle down. If she keeps pushing for it, you just be honest and she can leave if she wants to. If it's at the point where you really find it uncomfortable, you can leave her. But yeah, any answer other than hell yes is a no. Know that right now. So you obviously don't want this stuff, and you're just, part of you is feeling bad for being honest and not giving girls what they want, or this girl what she wants, because she sleeps with you. And that's a horrible mindset. It's I wish I could remember the video I put it on, but it was a lot of guys fall into that trap of reward somebody for good behavior to the extreme, where they start going overly transactional, and that every time a girl sleeps with them, he offers more commitment. It's not the purpose of that statement. The purpose of saying reward good behavior, don't reward bad behavior, is not about letting a girl put sex tokens in and get a relationship out of the vending machine. The purpose of it is for guys who reward bad behavior to understand that what they do has consequences. So for example, if your girl nags you and every time she nags you, you buy her flowers to shut her up, you're basically rewarding bad behavior. So don't reward bad behavior. If she nags you, if she treats you like a prick, if she insults you in front of your boss, yeah, you don't give her your time, your attention, or your commitment. Pull it back. At the same time, once she stops doing that stuff and starts acting in a normal way, your reward comes back. In this case, the only rewards are attention, affection, and commitment, as much as you're willing to give. But just you being a high value man or her hypergamous best option is the reward. So don't go too much on that. Oh, that's good to know. For Matt here, he asked why a female editor. As Aaron puts it, he found that they speak a different language. And so it's nice to see them, like they're better able to speak from outside of your perspective. So the other reason you can't edit your own books is because you remember everything in it. So if I'm reading something, I don't read what's right in front of me. I read knowing what went on inside of it. And so I'll skip stuff that maybe is poorly understood or very poorly explained, because in my head, I know what I was trying to say. But yeah, the idea was just to get somebody who has absolutely no tie to the frame of reference that I have. And if they can understand it, everybody can understand it. And maybe I should stick with Fiverr. But yeah, it's not, and it's for back to the other question about the seat girl. It's not that you're missing something or leveling up. You're just not, like, you're kind of, I don't want to say lying to yourself, but your hamster is kind of running. Trust your instinct on this one. You're saying yourself, well, I kind of don't, and you're saying as if she's a good kid, but you're not feeling it, as if there's something wrong with you. There's not something wrong with you. You're allowed to want something or not something. Just because she's fucking you on the regular, making you good meals, and acting like a great girlfriend doesn't mean she's obliged to be a girlfriend. If you want to go back, like I said, verbal intercourse is optional. It's a great post. Let me see if I can pull it up. Did I put that in the forums? No, I don't think I did. I'm going to put a link to this one in the chat. Now, the post is about sex versus communication, but you can easily map this to your situation. You don't, just because somebody wants something doesn't mean you're obliged to address it. You're just not. That's how people work. I want is not an excuse for you shall get. And it's hard because we're kind of natively hardwired to prefer women. Yeah, When I Say No, I Feel Guilty is another great book on that post too. The problem is your particular situation doesn't come up as often, so I can't recall. I know it's going to be the second half of the book that's going to be applicable to you, but it's mostly that first half that I've memorized because I have to talk about so much. But between those two things, like, you'll get there. You got to be okay with being the bad guy. She gets to be ultra sweet and sexual with you, and you're not going to wife her up, and that's okay. You haven't lied about it. You're being honest. You're not giving her all the details, but that's fine. She knows what the score is, but you're just like letting her lie to herself. But I mean, it's not your problem to fix. We'll get on to the next one here. I have some problems trying to understand fogging. I don't know if it's really easy and I just make it more complicated than it is, or is this yet too much for me to understand? For me, it sounds like mirroring her emotions. Maybe a personal example will help you understand. After sex, I lay with the girlfriend in bed. I looked at the clock and told her, "Shouldn't you be at work in 20 minutes? She jumped up and yelled, "It's your fault." Using fogging, what would you have done? I'd have laughed. Better get moving. Better get moving then. Better get moving and blame me. Yeah, it's not your fault. Girls don't want to be responsible for things, and that's fine. Give it to her. It doesn't really matter. So what if it's your fault? Doesn't even matter. Fogging is not for this, by the way. Fogging is more when you're having an emotional conversation and the other person is just processing. In this case, it's not her processing. It's just blaming you. Yeah, emotional jujitsu, as JR puts it. So, for example, if it's you took her out to dinner last week, and now this week you never taken me out to dinner. Girls always have this whatever they're feeling in the moment is reality thing, and you know it's bullshit. She feels it's not bullshit, but she doesn't know it. So here's what you do: you fog. Fogging is just a way to not invalidate a girl's emotions, but not validate them either. Because the worst thing you can tell a girl, and I do this occasionally just to piss somebody off, is tell her that her feelings are wrong. Her feelings are as real to her as the objective world is to you. And so if you tell a girl her feelings are wrong, like in this case, she jumped up and yelled, "It's your fault." And you're like, "It's not my fault." You're telling her what you're feeling is wrong, and nothing will escalate a situation more than that. But at the same time, if you say, "Yeah, it's my fault, I'm sorry," or "It's my fault, what are you going to do about it?" that also escalates the situation. I will go back to a great reference for this. It's that Hawaiian libertarian one. Ooh, I know I have this one on the forums. So let's pull this one up. It's Game is Red Pill. He uses an example over there about the emasculation paradox. And this is exactly what fogging is designed to address. So here's the quotes that he uses. And whenever your woman asks which two paint colors you prefer, you have to say you don't care. The alternative is picking the wrong color and paying dearly for it. Also, did I catch somebody else had a question on that? I hope I didn't skip by it because I wanted to go on to that one as well. I don't remember where somebody asked it, but either way, that'll be on your question too. The also one here, my wife used to put me in impossible situations as, "Do you think that other girl is prettier than me?" If you say no, she thinks you're lying. If you say yes, She gets mad that you don't think she's pretty, so you just avoids talking to her. These are the kind of things you're trying to avoid. It's not just if she gets mad because she's going to be late for work because you just fucked. It's these kind of situations where there is no right answer and every answer you give seems to be the wrong one that pisses her off. I mean, first off, you can nuke it, but fogging is a much more elegant solution, which is just you don't even address the question and you don't answer the question. What you do is you validate that the girl has emotions, but you don't agree that they're the correct ones. So in this case here, do you think that other girl is prettier than me? I mean, fogging for that one is, I could see why most guys would say that. Or if you can just say yes, and she goes, "Oh, you don't think I'm pretty." Why would you think that? Like, you see what I mean? You're basically sidestepping the question. Or I'm going to use the textbook example people use. It's so autistic, never use it though. I can see how you'd feel that way. You can say that and it sounds awful, but if you can kind of phrase it in that way, you can actually make, yeah. And that's the thing. Once you've got your value up high enough, you can learn you don't even need to fog anymore. There's a nice answer there from Marty. Just tell them that I'm hotter than both the girls and it doesn't matter. You can easily do that. You can say, of course she is, but she doesn't make me sandwiches. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't take it seriously. And eventually, once you've gotten good at fogging, you're going to learn these kind of like subtle, charming nukes with them. So the other answer, and I'm going to check to make sure it's oh yeah, so it was. It ties into the first question. I'll end it off on the first question, and then we'll switch over to the second cast, where he said, and that was the card I kind of skipped over in the first part. So we'll skip back to that question way at the beginning. That way, if you're scanning through, you'll know where I'm talking about. There it is. Yeah. So if a girl asks you what color nail color you want, and you just get to pick another, and she always goes against what you said, in her mind, she wants you to pick the right answer. And sometimes people don't know what they want until you offer them a choice. It's what I often say. If somebody can't pick, like, flip a coin. And then whatever you were rooting for the coin to be, that's the decision you wanted to make. Or I just make a decision. And I tell my girl, like, you can veto it if you want, but you get one. She'll ask me, should I wear this or this? I'll say one thing, she'll wear the other thing. And I realized she just needed a reason to pick one or the other. And oftentimes, just being contrarian against the man is what they do. And that's fine. They all do it. But you just can't be afraid of either answer. And if you really need to nuke it, like if it's something important, like, is she prettier than me? And you say, yeah. And then she gets mad at you. You go, well, why the fuck did you ask? You knew what the answer was going to be. Or, I'll lose my place there. Yeah, if you're asking a question and she picks the other one, then, like, why did you fucking ask me then if you knew what you were going to do anyway? But don't take it too seriously. It's just a thing that people do. More often than not, they don't know what they want. And then if you pick something, they find, oh, wait, and they start arguing with you. You already know that they're picking the other thing. So you're like, there you go. Make a decision for them. And if they start arguing with you, well, then you clearly wanted the other thing, babe. So fill your boots. Wear the ratchet pink instead of the ratchet blue with your nails. Anyways, on that note, I'm going to switch over to the second podcast, and I'll see you guys there.